What's up, Ringside Nation? The Ring Boys are back live from Mexico City. We got a great card for you. No Doc, but no problem. We got Artie here with us. Artie, how we feeling?
Feeling good. I'm excited. It should be a pretty good card from all the names that I see on here. But I don't know. Nobody over 155 has me a little worried about how these fights are going to end, but we can talk more about that as we go on.
I think the flyweight unders is going to need to come in for us to get some entertainment on this one. And we're just missing Mexican Marab and we're all set. But nonetheless, won't complain until we see the card. We'll get right into it. We got Brandon Moreno fighting Brandon Royval. Battle of the Brandons. Moreno trying to get back into the title fight conversation. Minus 295. Brandon Royval plus 240. I don't think these guys need an introduction. Brandon Royval obviously losing against Alexandre Pantoja, and Moreno's back. Who did Moreno fight last?
Pantoja.
No,
he had a fight after that. No, he did. His last fight was his loss to Pantoja.
Oh, I could have swore he fought someone else. Maybe I have that out of order. Yeah, it was Figueiredo, right? That he fought, and then he fought Pantoja. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, we get right into our picks. Who you got?
I got Brandon Moreno by hopefully knockout, maybe in the second round. I think they're both scrappy enough that we could definitely see it. And I'm kind of hoping that that's how this fight goes. Brandon Moreno is a much more skilled fighter. And I don't think that Brandon Royval really deserves to be in this conversation. And he's already lost to Moreno once before. And funny enough, that was right before he lost to Pantoja. So, history's going to repeat. He's going to lose the 2 fights in a row again. It's going to be Pantoja and Moreno. And we'll have Brandon Moreno versus Pantoja once again at some point.
Yeah, after Royval had that fight against Pantoja, his stock has just been plummeting for me. I wish we did get Amir Albazi for this fight. Unfortunately, he was hurt. That would have been a sick fight for this main event. Yep. But nonetheless, I think Royval just has a ton of output. Doesn't land enough significant strikes. Moreno's just going to counter and drop him in the 3rd, 4th round, hopefully. Don't have to see this one to a decision. I don't want to see it to a decision. I got the assassin baby. Doc's got the assassin baby. And the Ring Boys have your first ringer of the night, baby.
We're getting there.
We're getting better with the belt, I swear. Moving along. Featherweight bout. Yair Rodriguez against Brian Ortega. These guys obviously looking to recap on when they fought. When was... Am I thinking of... For Yair, he fought Ortega like a while back ago. Yeah, that's what it was. But nonetheless, Yair Rodriguez has been training in Mexico City for about a month. That elevation, that's going to play a huge factor. Brian Ortega, Mr. Only fights 4 times in 4 years. 1 in 3 in his last 4, 33 years old. It was cool at the press conference. He brought out his sons and they lined up with him for the face off. But Yair Rodriguez minus 150 could have been a way crazier line. Like minus 150 is pretty low. I could have seen this being a lot bigger, but nonetheless, Artie, what are your thoughts and who's your pick?
I think just given how I've talked about Brian Ortega on our podcast, I would say everybody should know it's going to be Yair Rodriguez. Khabib Nurmagomedov has a win more recently than Brian Ortega. Just wanted to throw that on there. And I think, honestly, the last time we saw these two fight in 2022, Yair was really piecing him up. And I think, honestly, no matter if, the shoulder injury did happen or didn't happen, I think Yair would have won that fight no matter what anyway. And I agree with you. The lines are kind of out of whack on this whole card, but I think this one in particular is just kind of strange. Like, Brian Ortega hasn't, you can't point to somebody on the current UFC roster and be like, he beat that guy. I feel like it's been way too long. Yair could have been plus or minus 250 or something like that, and I would not have been surprised.
Agreed. Yeah, and Yair also came out and said that he didn't even want to fight Ortega. He just feels so uneasy about this fight. He just feels so bad that he has to come in. But nonetheless, he said they're feeling more prepared. They're going to go at it. Yair Um, Obviously, he had the win over Josh Emmett back in February last year. He had won that interim featherweight title and lost against Volk. But nonetheless, I think Yair is going to get the win. I think this is a definite ringer for the Ring Boys. And I feel pretty easy going from main event to go main event that Yair and Moreno will have their hands raised by the end of the night. Third fight of the card, lightweight bout. Is this the heaviest fight, lightweight, on the whole card? That's insane. That's still so insane to me. We got Zell Huber versus Prado. Zell Huber is minus 270. I'm taking Zell Huber. I think the 3 years of experience is definitely going to show here. No, I'm just kidding. When you see an 8-inch reach advantage, it's hard to toss that up. And yeah, I think Daniel's going to take this one. Artie, how are we feeling?
I think I was the only one out of us three that picked Francis Prado, but I think the only reason I did that is I've watched Zell Huber fight, and he is a very good boxer, but once it comes to it, he gasses out so quickly. Like every fight that he's been on, it's just like the first round is super exciting. He's going in there striking like crazy, and then all of a sudden the second round he comes out and it's kind of just flat. But both super young kids, both still fairly new to the UFC, and I don't know. I'm just hoping for an exciting fight. I don't know that these lines are necessarily true to how this fight will probably go, so that's why I picked Prado.
Yeah, I had to go over and check to see who Doc had, and he also agreed he has Daniel Zell Huber. So this will not be a ringer for the Ring Boys. We'll have to wait and see if you're right here, Artie. I do think this is a good solid pick for you though. At 12-1, 14-1, I wouldn't be shocked if Prado catches Zell Huber and drops him.
And I was saying this to you before we started recording too. I don't know how I feel about like guys over 6 foot at 155. It seems like they're probably cutting too much weight, and maybe that's why Zell Huber has been so gassed out in his fights. Is I don't know that naturally this is the weight for him. I bet he'd probably be way better at 170 just because he could probably put on a little bit more muscle and not have to cut so much weight to be at 155. But maybe the UFC puts in like a 162 or something and makes everybody happy.
Yeah. Or if when we get to it, you miss by 5 pounds, and they introduce a new division called the fly tam weight.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, I like that pick because you're taking the street fighting dude. But yeah, to your point, like 6'1", but he's also 24 years old. Like I wonder if he's still going to be growing. So wonder if that weight cut will be harder as he gets older, or he'll just be used to it. So we'll have to keep an eye on him if he wins, and if he gets a loss, we'll keep him in the back of our minds.
Yep.
Nonetheless. All right. My favorite fighter in the entirety of the UFC, Raul Rojas Jr. Just kidding. Hate him. Fighting Ricky Tercios. Raul Rojas, 8-1. Ricky, 13-3. I completely forgot there's a decade difference between these guys. Like, it's insane. I think there should be a decade difference of experience. But Raul Rojas is just so good that at 19 years old, he's the youngest UFC fighter to ever get a win, right? He was like 18 when he won.
Yep.
That's insane. Nonetheless, I can't pick against him. I can't pick for him. I'm taking Raul Rojas here. Hate the guy. I just think he's too cocky, but we'll have to wait and see. Thoughts?
Yeah, I also picked Raul Rosas, but I think he really needs to come out and like take care of business as he did in his last fight too. Ricky is somebody who's been. I feel like he came out of The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I think Ricky isn't terrible by any means, but Raul's just a very skilled wrestler, and that plays a big advantage in the UFC. I think wrestling is the best base at the moment, so I'm just going to go ahead and say I think that should do the work for him.
Yeah, and this one will be a ringer from the Ring Boys for sure. Before we stop talking about this one, though, Ricky like has only 4 fights in the UFC for how old he is, and they've all gone to decision. And it's like you're not taking Raul Rosas to decision. He's gonna drop you before he hears a bell.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll call it now. Second round TKO. Raul Rosas win, but we'll come back on the pod and see how wrong I was. All right. Been training for this moment for a while. Yasmin Harigwe, still butchering it, fighting Sam Hughes. Yasmin, 24 years old, 64-inch reach. They share the reach advantage. Sam Hughes is 2 inches taller, which I didn't actually know, but she has decent takedown advantages. But Yasmin is not going to go to the ground at all. Yasmin's going to just stand and bang, and I think she's going to let the hands go, and I think Yasmin's going to get her hand raised at the end of the night.
I think so too, and she's a fighter that just kind of looking back, she doesn't go to decision very often, and I guess that kind of played to her fault because she did lose her last fight. However, she is still on what I was just looking at before we started recording. She's on the top 25 under 25 for the UFC, and coming in against somebody who's probably just a little bit more experienced, older than her, but I think she should still get the job done.
Yeah, she's coming off a tough loss against Denise Gomez. It was like a 20-second knockout, but that was crazy. That's not going to happen again, hopefully. I don't think Sam Hughes is going to catch her in 20 seconds. I'll quit the pod if she does. I'll go on record right now and say I'll quit the pod if she does. But you can also hit that bell for me. This is another ringer for the Ring Boys. Starting off hot, starting off with not many disagreements until now, the second heaviest fight in the entirety of the card. Manuel Torres versus Chris Duncan. Manuel Torres, 28 years old. Chris Duncan, 30, to about 2-inch reach advantage. And Manuel Torres, another one of those guys that is just going to stand and bang. But yeah, Manuel Torres, knockout power. Chris Duncan, plus 160. Manuel is minus 190. I think this is a good line to take Manuel on, and I'm taking him.
I agree. However, I know I'll speak on Doc's behalf here, but he picked Duncan, and I don't know that like he's super far off. And like I've said, I don't know that these lines are like very accurate for all of these fights, just because like most of these people don't have a ton of experience in the UFC. And as I was just saying, wrestling does tend to be the best base in the UFC, and Chris Duncan is a much better wrestler than Manuel Torres. And I don't know if he gets a takedown and he's able to keep him down, and that's how the fight goes. Then there's just a possibility that he could win that way. So I don't know. I don't think that the odds are that crazy, but I'm with you, and I took Manuel Torres just because he's a much more exciting fighter. Looking at his highlights, and it'd be kind of sick to get a knockout in the first fight in the main card.
I'll just hit you with this. 3 fights, first rounds, 3 knockouts, 3 wins. It's never been taken to the ground. And he has outside experience from fighting in Mexico. Obviously, those fighters aren't Chris Duncan level. But yeah, that's a really good point. I think Chris Duncan at 11-1 is a sneaky guy to take at plus 160. I wouldn't knock you for taking that line, but I wouldn't.
I'm taking that line.
All right. Fair enough. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think Manuel Torres is a pretty safe pick here, in my opinion. So, bantamweight fight. Cristian Quinones. How do you say this guy's first name? Is it Raoni?
Raoni Barcelos.
Raoni Barcelos. Christian Quinones, 27 years old. Raoni, 36, getting up there in age. But he is the favorite. So you got to wonder, does the over 35 curse come into play here? Barcelos minus 175. Quinones plus 145. I'm taking Quinones here at plus 145. He has 100% takedown accuracy. I think he's also got good hand speed. But at the bantamweight, you don't see that many, crazy knockouts unless you're Sean O'Malley doing something insane. Yeah, I think I'm going with the underdog here. I know you have opposite feelings, so I'll let you talk about him.
Was that no, I wasn't the only one. Yeah, I think there's something about Brazilian fighters as they kind of get up in age, they seem to get better. And I've seen Raoni Barcelos fight a few times, and I know that he's pretty good. And I've seen Christian Quinones fight, and I don't know that he's necessarily up to the level of the UFC. But that's why we get them on cards like this, where they'll have a chance to prove themselves. But I don't know. I could see this fight going to the ground, and there'll be a lot of wrestling. But I also know that Raoni is a guy that doesn't mind standing up and throwing some fists. So yeah, will be a good one.
After Raoni got knocked out by Nurmagomedov, I'm never picking him on. I just can't. I wouldn't be shocked if he wins, but he's like what 1-4 in his last 5. So we'll see if he ages like fine wine and gets a win, and we'll come back and see what happens. All right, Jesus Aguiar against Mendonca. What was Mateus Mendonca? 10-2, -120. I'm surprised this wasn't a pick'em. Like, have you seen what Jesus Aguiar did to Shannon Ross? He just knocked him in like 17 seconds and just like redesigned his face, basically. That knockout was insane. So I'm rocking with Jesus at +100 here. I think I like the underdog. He's old. Like I said, always got to take the older guy, the more experienced one, 2 years of age on him. But no, I think Jesus might get a knockout here if he can be smart and stay on his ground. But have you seen this reach advantage?
Yeah, that's actually part of the reason why I'm picking Mateus. Because I also did see that knockout that Jesus hit in the 17 seconds, but I think both of these guys have a pretty wrestling strong base as well, so that reach advantage is going to play a big factor in it, and I think that's how Mateus gets to win.
Doc also picked Mateus, but on the sheet it says you picked Jesus, so I'm confused.
Wait, I did?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I don't know why I did that, but okay.
I'll fix that for you. All right. The sheet means nothing behind the scenes nowadays, boys. But yeah, I think Jesus has knockout power. I think this is a Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell situation where I'm going to be right again. So we'll have to wait and see. Edgar Chavez against Daniel Lacerda. Both guys miss weight. Chavez thinks he's fighting at like fly tam weight and was like what 5.5 for some like a comes out like miss.
Yeah, 5 pounds over.
5 pounds over, and then they go to weigh out Lacerda. He's 1 pound over. It's like, what are we doing here? Edgar is -475. Daniel +350. And now that both guys are overweight, I wonder if they're getting paid at all. So this might be one to watch. They'll probably go out and just throw as many shots as they can, go home, and then have a good meal, have a good nice ride home. But I wanna reiterate, we've been keeping track of a stat, and that stat is fighters that miss weight. So it's like, do we count both as missing weight? And then how do we count the record for, is it a win and a loss?
I don't know. I guess we could go that way. But yeah. Did you say your pick already?
Yeah, nonetheless, we're all taking Edgar. This is a ringer from the Ring Boys.
I was waiting for that before I give my opinion. Yeah, I think this fight, as like the memes are happening on Twitter, is just doomed. It already got rescheduled once because I think there was an eye poke. And then Edgar missing 5 pounds, absolutely insane. And then Daniel Lacerda also missing weight, but I think there is something to say about Daniel Lacerda missing weight, even though it wasn't quite as bad as Edgar. He's like on a 4 or 5 fight losing streak. Things aren't good.
Yeah.
Things are not good. So I mean, not losing streak because he did have that no contest. So I guess it's a 4 fight losing streak.
Yep.
If he comes out and he loses this, it's gonna be bye-bye. He's not getting back into the UFC. So
yeah, 5 fights in the UFC, 5 losses in the UFC. That's not a good look for you at all, bud.
No, that'll be tough. And somebody at 27, you got to take it seriously. You got to make the weight. I mean, same thing goes for Edgar because that's just embarrassing. But I don't know. I like you said, I almost wonder if this fight is actually going to happen. I know that they haven't said anything yet, but yeah, we'll see.
Nonetheless, if they do have the fight, it'll be part of our picks and it'll be part of our results. If not, we'll scratch it. Similar to Justin Tafa coming in, and yeah, that situation. Last thing I'll say about Edgar before we move on, dude, he took Tatsuro Taira to decision. He obviously lost, but the fact that he survived against that guy, he's one tough son of a gun. But the line minus 475 is crazy, like insane for a guy who missed weight. If you take that, you're on something. Another lightweight fight. I didn't even know. I thought this was at a lower weight, but nonetheless, Claudio plays versus, I think it's Faris Jam. Two guys that are pretty similar in age, pretty similar in size. 3-inch reach advantage for the favorite, Jam minus 200. But I'll give you the talking stick right away because I think we're both taking Claudio here, and I want you to share your opinion first.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of guys who are above 6 foot fighting at 155. I think that weight cut's kind of tough. And Jean is somebody who is like a decision king. The one fight he's lost in his last fight was against Terrence McKinney when he got choked out. And Claudio has a really strong wrestling base. So I think if he gets close enough, this fight it should just be over. And watching back some of the fights from Fares Jam, he's not honestly that big for 6'1". So yeah, we'll see. I don't think he's winning this one, but I like the underdog.
To me, he's like a knockoff Nasruddin Imavov. Like in these situations, you have to pressure the wrestler, and this guy goes to decisions forever. Like you're giving a wrestler and a grappler so much time to 1, work on the ground, 2, get you there, and 3, submit you. So that exact situation where he lost to Terrence was what caught my eye, and I was like, I feel like that could happen again. Plus 170. Not a bad line to take Claudio Palace on, guys. So we'll have to keep our eye on that one. But what country of origin is he from? I'm not familiar with that flag.
That is Peru.
Peruvian. I wanted to say Chilean for some reason, but nonetheless, you and I see eye to eye with Claudio, but Doc's taking Jam. So we'll have to see on the post show who was right, who was wrong, and break it down for you guys. All right. This Luis Rodriguez?
Ronaldo
Rodriguez. I don't know why I have it wrong on the sheet. Kind of weird. We're all taking Ronaldo Rodriguez, ringer from the Ring Boys. Yeah, just a pick 'em fight. The guy's 24. He's younger in my eyes. He's in Mexico. He's gonna have the crowd behind him. Just your normal flyweight. They're gonna throw 1,000 punches, gas themselves out, and Rodriguez is gonna squeeze the decision in my eyes. Artie, you see that any different?
I honestly think this isn't going to decision. Dennis, if anybody's seen him fight, he's still kind of new to the UFC. But this dude goes in there and like acts to his fighter nickname, which is Psycho, and does that part. He is pretty insane in the ring. He'll go in there and throw like crazy. But I don't know. Just given that the Ronaldo is younger, I think he's gonna go in there and do the same exact thing. But Dennis doesn't have the chin. He's gotten caught a few times, so I think Ronaldo's gonna take the win by knockout. Maybe in the second round, maybe in the third. Not going to decision. No way.
It's also his UFC debut and in his home country, so he's gonna have the crowd behind him. And Dennis Bundar lost to Malcolm Gordon. Like, how do you lose to Malcolm Gordon? I can't pick you. I can't respect you if you lose to Malcolm X Gordon. Come on. We'll see which flag gets the hand raised at the end of the night, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Mexico. We'll wait and see. All right. This is my luck of the card. And my guy, Felipe Dos Santos, fighting Victor Ultramamino. Felipe Dos Santos 7-1, Victor 12-3. Minus 300 is pretty high of a line. Like, he's obviously my lock. Like, you get like scammed and told behind the scenes of like, oh, you always take like minus 1,000, minus 600 or whatever. But when I have to go third and like there's minus 600s, minus 575s, I'm looking for like crumbs here. But no, I think Felipe Dos Santos is a really good fighter. I think he's going to get his hand raised at the end of the night. I don't know if he'll knock him out, but I'm expecting a lot of kicks. Muay Thai guy against just a normal boxer. I think he's going to get the kicks going. He's gonna weed Victor down. Victor's gonna be tired, and he's gonna finish him before the end of the bell.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the age will probably do some part in this as well. Felipe was also on that list of the top 25 under 25 for the UFC. And I've seen Victor fight before. He's pretty good. I think I watched him fight Tim Elliott, where he did take him to decision, and I think he lost that. Yeah, that was his last fight. Yeah, I mean, he's fighting in Mexico, but I don't know. I think Felipe just is much more skilled of a fighter, and as long as he doesn't get to the ground with him, then things should be good for Felipe. But if he gets caught in a takedown or two, we might be in trouble for this one because I don't know. I don't think you said it yet, but this is a ringer for the ring, boys.
Absolutely. Yeah, Felipe Dos Santos taking Manel Kape to a decision, obviously losing, but he gave Manel a run for his money, so I can respect the hell out of that. Funny enough, Victor also fought Lacerda on this card too, and he beat him in the first round. So we'll have to see if they keep them spread out in the behind the scenes and not let them fight again. All right. You want to take this one up? Because this is your boy, Muhammad Naimov versus Eric Silva. Muhammad Naimov obviously fighting on that big card against Nathaniel Wood. Part of the Dagestani Gucci flip-flop parlay, which we love to remind people about. The night was magical, and I'm glad Muhammad Naimov was part of it. This was going to be my lock of the card. Then I saw the actual line, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get roasted if I take him, so I'm not going to. But seven age difference, 1 inch reach advantage for Silva, but I think Muhammad Naimov is going to get a finish here.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen Eric Silva fight before, and it's been a couple of years since he has fought. And Muhammad Naimov, in my opinion, at 145 is somebody that should be maybe getting a top 15 fighter after he wins this. He is very, very good, and he's very skilled. So I'm looking forward to this fight. It should be another W for Naimov.
Who would you want to see him fight in the rankings? I have a name in mind. I want to see if we line up.
You can tell me yours because I have to actually see who's in the top 15. Who's in the high top 15?
I want to see him against Bryce Mitchell.
Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, I want Bryce Mitchell to take his time. Muhammad will get the win here, get his hand raised, and then I want to see them go at it. I think that'd be a good one.
Kind of tough.
He's too high, like at 10.
Yeah,
I feel like he has to.
A realistic one is Dan Ige because Dan Ige is 12. But I don't know if you want to throw a prospect to somebody like Dan because Dan will probably take care of him. But
I'll get the 50K.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Edson Barboza could be a good one. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you would want him to go against Bryce Mitchell because I don't know that Bryce Mitchell wins this one. I think Naimov is a better grappler than Bryce Mitchell is, and
that's exactly what I want to see it. I want to see them grapple it out. I think they're a good matchup. But yeah, to your point, Danny Gay, I mean, look what he just did to Andre Touchy-Feely. He's one of those. We always talk about these fighters, but the gatekeepers, yeah, if you want to get a number next to your name, you got to go through me first, pal. And with a name like Dan 50K Ige, he collects bonuses for knocking dudes of this archetype all the time. So
yeah. I don't know that one would be that close. I don't know if I'd want to see that one. That'd be a little sad, but nonetheless, it would probably be a good fight. But like I said, I think somebody in the top 15 after this one, it'd be good. We need to get these younger fighters in as soon as possible, just because over and over again we see in the UFC guys who are 32, 33 that haven't fought very much still get on the card once a year, and then we're just sitting here wondering why. And yeah, don't want to waste these careers.
Agreed. We'll have to wait and see though what happens next for Muhammad Naimov. I'll be another one if he loses. I'm quitting the pod. But nonetheless, that's your overall UFC Mexico City breakdown. Obviously, UFC 300 main event being made, so I wanted to just surprise you and ask what your thoughts. Obviously, not the fight we wanted, but I don't know what people are thinking that they're going to get this insane 300 unrealistic card, but I think this is a pretty good main event. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall UFC 300 is a very good card in general. I don't understand, like, I've scrolled through Twitter, I've seen the MMA Twitter analysts like bashing this card because there was women's fights that got announced for this one, and I don't get it. As a UFC fan, you should look at this and be very excited. Obviously, we can't recreate some things like UFC 200 was absolutely wild. Like that commercial that came out after 199, like there's nothing that you can do to recreate those sort of things, but this nonetheless, this is a very good card. The main event that got announced, I mean, Alex Pereira, how does he lose this? Like, let's be real. Jamal Hill, like, not to take anything away from him because obviously he was the champion and he had to give up his belt just due to injury, but I don't think he does anything that Alex Pereira does better at all. And if he had to take Glover Teixeira to decision in a fight that was pretty darn close because they were both really beat up at the end. I don't know. Like I don't know how you can look at Jamal Hill and be like, yeah, this is the guy that's gonna get the belt next for light heavyweight.
Yeah, I'm going to hold my pick for now just to hype the crowd up, but I agree with you. You could probably make an educated guess on who my pick's going to be.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
Absolutely, like disrespectful from the UFC to try to make a fight for Leon Edwards with Shavkat, Kamzat, and who else was it? Who was the
Islam?
third person? And Islam, and not have it be Bilal Muhammad. Absolutely disrespectful.
They didn't
First of
even
all,
call him.
they picked two guys who we already know they're not fighting because it's Ramadan, and you don't give the most one of the most deserving contenders that fight. It is wild to me, absolutely wild to me. That should have been the main fight for this card for 300. I wish it was because yeah, Bilal doesn't sell fights like everybody else does, and that's what like everybody's assumption is because he's not going in there knocking people out. But neither is Leon Edwards. Like, yeah, he knocked out Usman, but like that, I think that might have been one of the few knockouts he actually has in the like his last however many fights. So, I mean, I don't know. I still think it's very disrespectful. I understand that when he talks for the UFC, and that's kind of the direction they've been kind of heading in, but I don't get it. Bilal Muhammad needs that shot, and he should be next.
Agreed. It's crazy that they didn't even call him, and he's someone that's known for fighting during and after and before Ramadan, and you've seen it in the past for him. And you can tell because at the previous pay-per-view, he was ringside and he was like, 300, called me right to the camera. And I was like, what? Does that mean he's fighting? And then they announced the main event. I'm like, so that means they never even had him in the equation? But still, like, Leon's a dog for saying yes to Islam, Kamzat, and Shavkat all back to back to back. That's insane. I do think it's a bigger business decision from the perspective of, look, if you start giving out these huge fights, it's kind of like an adrenaline rush and a drug rush for all these MMA community fans because they're going to be like, all right, what's next? What's next? What's next? And they're going to want you to top it. And I think you have to have one crazy fight like every 6 months to keep like everyone's attentions and keep them buying the pay-per-views. It's like all these fighters on the main event only make like $1 or $2, whatever, off every pay-per-view purchase. So it's like, if you don't sell fights like a Sean O'Malley versus Taporia, like I wonder what the pay-per-view numbers, we'll have to wait and see. Like Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill will sell fights at the end of the day. And obviously it's UFC 300. Everyone's going to be buying this pay-per-view. And it's like, dude, there are 5 really, really, really good fights on this card. Like Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, the BMF title for Gaethje Holloway, Charles and Armand, and Charles is an underdog. Yuri having to come back and defend against Rakic. You could make the case for Aljo, but I'm just sick and tired for Aljo. And then you got Devson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt. To me, I think that's going to be a very underrated fight. And this goes on and on. Like, this is a sick card, so I'm sick and tired of everyone complaining. It's not going to be, a dream card because we got to make more fights for the rest of the year. And I think Leon, Tom Aspinall, and Patty are going to be on an England card before the end of the year, and hopefully we see Leon fight like a Shafkat in England or something. Like, how sick would that be? So I'm sick and tired of the complaining. Once this card happens, unless like every fight sucks, which isn't going to happen. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off my 2 cents. I'm sick and tired of this MMA community, man.
Yeah, that would not be a sick fight, by the way. I don't want to see Shafkat fight Leon at all yet.
In England?
No. Bilal needs that shot next. I don't care what you try to tell me.
Yeah.
Like, I get and exactly what you were saying. You have to top, the fights before that. But, like, we get 299 before 300. 299 is absolutely stacked. And not for nothing, like exactly what you said, people will buy this card, not just for the main event, because majority of the people, I mean, honestly, I'm more interested to see who's going to win between Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian. That fight has huge complications, right? Like, I don't know. It just weird and wild to me. Like I said to you, and I've been complaining about it for like the last 2 weeks. I feel like the UFC's kind of heading down like maybe a slightly money hungry way, but I don't know. These fights will have to happen eventually. It's just who will they happen against? We'll have to see.
That we will. And yeah, Bilal's like a big company guy. Like he always is going for pay-per-views. He's always down to just be there for commentating and just being there for UFC events. Like you don't see many fighters doing that. Like you get Bobby Green who just like smokes 3 blunts and then hops on and just says whatever. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, nonetheless, Bilal and Leon in England would do numbers. I do see your point now. I think he is very deserving. After he got that critical win against Gilbert Burns, I think he's been holding this meal ticket and he's waiting to get his number called, and they're disrespecting him. But nonetheless, we'll have to wait and see. UFC Mexico is the focus. Just run through these picks real quick. Doc's lock of the card, it's Brandon Moreno. Mine is Felipe Dos Santos, and Artie's is
Yair Rodriguez.
Your ringer parlay for the night. We're all taking Brandon Moreno, Yair Rodriguez, Raul Rosas, Yasmin Harigwe, Harigui. I'm still messing it up. Edgar Chavez, Ronaldo Rodriguez, Felipe Dos Santos, and Mohamed Naimov. That's your ringer parlay for the weekend. Thank you for hitting that bell, brother. We'll do a quick fantasy update for the boys one time. Already leading with 11 points. All these fights have been updated. I'll just quickly do this so you can see it. Sean Brady dropping. That kind of sucks for you. Hopefully we'll see him active and in the ring, but I think you have the most fights going and the most points and the most wins so far. So it's looking like a ringer for you to win the first annual fantasy draft here, Artie. What are your thoughts going into the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank myself for drafting so well. No, I mean, either way, I don't like this is cool and all, but like it's I don't know, it's fun. I hope more people get onto something like this. This is a very fun thing to do, and maybe, just maybe, depending on how things shake out, maybe by like July or August, we might have to redraft. It's a little unfair because I'm going to be winning probably by like 30 points at that by then. So I got to give everybody else a chance, and we'll see how Doc feels about it. But yeah.
Or we just add a championship clause for me to get back in the mix, and we rock with that.
I'd be winning anyway. Are you kidding?
Probably.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know with this industry nowadays. We'll see what title fights they make. I think there's only a few title fights left. Like, obviously, we have the 300 ones. Then what's after that? Like,
301, 302 probably in Saudi Arabia, or 303.
Well, I'm saying for what's booked right now, we have O'Malley defending against Cheeto. Like, how funny would it be if he loses against Cheeto? And then with 300, it's 3 belts, right? The BMF, the strawweight.
Doesn't count. It doesn't count.
BMF's a real belt. The BMF's a real belt. No, I just wanted to piss you off. Yeah, we don't have many title fights scheduled apart from 300, but I'm not complaining. So we'll have to wait and see what's happening with the rankings. Nonetheless, Ringside Nation, we love you. Artie, anything before you sign off here?
No, nothing. Literally nothing. Just $2.99, please.
Hurry up.
We're so ready. We're so ready. Please.
Hurry up. All right. If this card's, bad, I might have to start watching PFL Bellator all over again if they're going to actually have decent pay-per-views and make them affordable. Don't make me do that, Dana, please. All right. Peace out.